So tonight is all about session planning for the child coach. Kieran McGuckie and Paddy O'Connor are going to take you through tonight's webinar. Just again, a couple of things for anybody new that's joining us I want to show you. So down at the bottom of the screen beside your hang up button is the chat button. So if you click on that, it opens a chat here along your right hand side of your screen. Kieran is just after posting a message there. So you can type your message in the same as a text or a WhatsApp message at the bottom of the screen and use the little aeroplane there to send the message off. So the lads will be looking for some engagement as we're going along through the chat function. So when you hear that coming up, that's where you're directed towards. So just type into it, press the aeroplane, and we get it off. That's your opportunity to ask questions as well as the session goes along. And yeah, I think that's it really. So I'll hand you over. Paddy O'Connor is going to start off. So Paddy will come in there, I'll pull up the presentation, and hopefully you have an enjoyable night again and that everybody had a lovely bank holiday. Thanks very much, everyone.
Okay, thanks, Damien. Okay, so everyone's very welcome to our second, I suppose, child-specific webinar workshop. So tonight's presentation, we're looking at how to get the most out of your coaching session. That's before the coaching session, during the session, and after the session. So we'll just go through the aims here now of our session planning. So the aims will be to look at different components of what are in a good session. What do you want to cover in a good session, which is really important. How we use the different components. So where do we use them and when are they beneficial? Look at some game-based coaching models. So some session plan templates. So this is the main staple of the presentation tonight. That we'll be looking at different templates that you can bring to your club, depending on what numbers you have, what coaches you have, what pitch you have, what areas you want to develop, and these templates will help you design a session and get the most out of your session. And finally, then, how do we get the most out of our session afterwards? So reflecting on the session and looking at the session, say, well, what am I going to do the next day? How am I going to improve it? How am I going to improve my players after the session? How did it go? What can I improve? And what can I use again? So again, looking at how we can reflect on the session and get more out of the next session we're going to. So as Damien said there, we have the chat box. We want to get you just to using that a little bit tonight. So what I want to get everyone to do, if they can, is to just type in what age group you're working with in the chat box. So whether that's under 8, under 10, under 12, under 13 in the child player, if you can put that in the chat box, and we'll just have a good reference there of the age groups that we're looking at, what coaches we're looking at tonight. So if you just do that, I'll give you a couple of seconds for that. So just type in what age group you're working with. I'll get you used to the chat function as well. And again, any part of the session you want to ask a question, make sure and post it up there. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Myself and Kieran will do the best to answer the question as we go along. If we don't answer it at the time, we'll definitely come back to it at the end. Okay, Damien, for ahead there. So the last workshop we worked on was specifically around games for kids and activities for kids that you can do. An array of games, and we gave out a resource at the end that you can download on the website with lots of different gameplay and game activities. But I'm just going to play a quick video here, just a review of some of the games we played and some we practiced, and we'll be trying to get these games and put them into session templates, which is the main part of today's session, trying to get these games and activities and drills into the session templates we have so that you can plan the session and make your sessions better and get the most out of your session. Okay, so that summary just went through some of the games you went through the last day, like the over the river progression John would have went through, the 1v1, 2v2 games Damien went through, and all of these games that we looked, and we asked you at the end of the session the last day was to pick 3 of your favourite games and use the step model yourself to progress them games. So now we're going to progress it on and look at, well, look, what is the difference between drills and games, and when should they be used, and what stage of development should they be used, and what type of games can you use? So we have Colin Clear, Coach Education Officer from Leinster GAA, has put a presentation together for us just on drills versus games. He's labelled it, and it's a really good insight how to use different games and drills and what context to use them in. So we'll just nip on to that video there now.
The question of drills versus games is regularly asked as coach development. Which is the most appropriate? Should we still be doing drills now that a lot of the research tells us the benefit and the importance of game-based coaching? And ultimately, the answer is there in front of us. There's no right or wrong answer for drills versus games. It all does really depend. Now, what does it depend on? The first thing we've got to consider is what stage of development are our players at. If we look at the 3 main stages of learning or development, we've got the cognitive, the mental stage, where players are just trying to figure out what it is they have to do. The associative or the practice stage is where they just need to go and practice it. And then the final stage is when it all comes into place for them to do it without thinking. So if we put that to the technique of the punt kick, we take the example of the kids who are coaching at the moment. When they're first learning what to do with their head, hands, feet, the 3 key teaching points, they need to find out and figure out first of all what it is they need to do. And at that stage, that individual practice or the partner practicer, as some of us might call it, drills, that's probably more appropriate at that stage for them just to mentally figure out what it is they need to do. So if we take an example here of the nature one, Noah was given the instruction here on his own, practicing in the garden, of just hitting the ball against the rebound net. There's a square marked on the rebound net. So let's have a look at him and see where we think his stage is.
Okay, Noah, come here for a sec. Quick question for you. What do you do with your head when you're kicking the ball, when you're punt kicking the ball?
Look down at the ball.
What do you do with your hands?
Make an airplane wing.
Show me what you mean by that. Very good. And what do you do with your feet?
Go like that.
Show me that again. Very good. So do you point your toe?
Yeah.
Okay, so within that, we see that Noah understands what the 3 key teaching points are and is able to communicate it. So at this stage, he just needs to practice it. For those who probably noticed it on the video, without any instruction, he practiced using right and left. You could see he was a bit slower with the left kicks, and when it went astray, he went back to the right side again, his more dominant side. So for him, he's probably slightly further along in the practice stage of his right, but still figuring it out a little bit on the left and what it takes and the feeling of it, etc. So as far as he's concerned, we can progress him on to different routines and games. He's ready for that sort of game-based element to apply that bit he knows in a game situation. So if we take a simple game like this, time to 11 game, what we've done is similar type activity. However, this time he is to decide. There's 3 options. He can kick it from the purple mat, which is worth 1 point, the red mat, which is 2 points, or the yellow mat, which is 3 points, and he's to see how quickly he can get a score of 11. So he's to try and figure that out, decide which is going to get him to the score quickest, and which he's able to do himself. So there's a little bit of decision making and problem solving. as we've seen there, when the competition came on and there was a little bit of pressure, there was no going to the left foot then. He was sticking to his dominant foot and practicing on that. So that's something maybe to consider when we talk about drills versus games. When a player gets into that game situation where there's a little bit of competition, they're probably going to favour their dominant side, more practice with the other side, etc. So for Noah at the moment, playing a 6v6 match, yeah, that will help him in the practice stage on his right foot. But knowing him and having seen him playing games, if it is in a game, 99% of the time he'll favour going on to his right side rather than using his left side. So he'll probably need individual practice a little bit more to develop the understanding, the cognition of what he needs to do with his left, then break it down, simplify it for practice so that he can feel comfortable and has the confidence to apply it in a game situation. So that shows the balance of where games and drills might actually be used as well. And again, we move up and down between the stages. He's not at the autonomous stage, but games are required in order to try and get him to achieve that. Because there's no point in being good at just practicing a skill in isolation, kicking the ball with no pressure, standing in a stationary position. The games that bring it on where he has to practice that skill in multiple situations, with multiple decisions going on. And that's what we're doing. And that's the benefit of game-based. That brings us on to game-based. And I suppose a little play on words here is probably the key thing to remember, is that we talk about game-based, but really what we're looking for, especially whether it's a drill or a game, is that whatever we do and the activity we do is based on the game. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show two very, very quick videos. The first one here is we're going to look at practicing the pickup, and something that a lot of us have done as coaches is we'll ask kids to pick up the ball and see how many pickups they can do in 30 seconds, etc. So in this case, he's got a blue ball and a white ball. He's to pick up the blue followed by the white and see how many he can do in 30 seconds, and let's watch what happens. It's fairly evident there that his technique was poor. He was touching the ball on the ground regularly, so he was fouling the ball, and he actually never came to an upright position. And that was because the activity I gave him didn't actually allow him to do it. It probably suited better to stay down, crouch, barely pick up the ball, drop it, and he was a bit quicker in that set. So again, when we're given activities for him to do, be it a drill or be it games, we need to base it on what the game actually looks like. So now if we look at the second activity he done, the task here was there was two balls in the middle and two markers each end. What he had to do if the ball was in the middle, carry a ball to the end, and if the ball was at the end, carry it to the middle. He can't pick up the same ball twice in a row, so he'd a bit of problem solving and figure out. So let's see what his solution to that was. Okay, we can see his technique was better there, but more importantly, the activity he done and the routines and the patterns he done were based on the game. So if the ball was in the middle, he picked it up and he was striding through it, standing upright, taking his 4 steps before he put it down. And then either the ball's at the end, he was going to them, picking them up and turning and coming back to the centre. So again, that's based on the game. There's times you'll be picking it and driving forward. There's times you'll have to pick up a ball in defence and turn around and bring it forward again. So that change of pattern, change of motion. And the activity itself made him do the technique better. So that was a fun game. He was timed. It was a race, etc. And it was a lot more applicable to the game than just standing picking up the 2 balls. So the key there is whenever we do activities, we've got to base them on the game. So in summary, on this little piece, if you are deciding drills versus game, unfortunately, it might sound like a bit of a cop-out, but it depends. It depends on what it is you're looking to develop, and it also depends on what stage you're learning your player at. You've got to know your players. You've got to know what they want to do, the stage they're at, and whether they have the capacity and understanding to carry it on and perform the activities in a game. You've got to know what you're looking to develop. If it's technique only, it might need to isolate it. But if we're talking about decision making, if we're talking about team play, interacting with other players, games are the way to do it. Now, that doesn't necessarily just mean matches, but it can be fun games and activities, or even like we had there, a relay race, a little bit of problem solving based in it as well. And the final thing, and probably the key thing, is whatever activities we should do, you should always challenge yourself. Are they based on the game we're actually looking to play? So that's, for me, that's key. In whatever activities we do, question yourself, is it based on the game that you're actually playing?
So just a couple of things to recap on what Colin went through there, that our sessions want to be based around the game. There's no need to do a full session on skill and isolation, but that can happen at certain stages of the child's development. They have to obviously learn the skills, and that can be done. He used Noah there as an example with the pickup, and he said that on the left foot that he wasn't using his left foot as much, so he wouldn't go into a 6v6 game maybe using his weak foot, or it might be a 4v2 game to work on his weak side. So that's just something to consider when we are planning the session. So the next part we're going to look at is Paul Kinrock, the Limerick senior hurling coach. He done a PhD in Limerick just on games-based coaching in the GAA, and this is going more deeper into how we plan the session and what the sessions would look like. So he's going to talk about just what the session looks like in his eyes versus a traditional old style coaching session. So he's just going to go through the plan of the session on that.
So here you have, if you want, your two broad categories, you have your traditional and your games based. So your traditional, it's the majority of use of drills ahead of games, while in the games based you have more games than drills. So traditional, you have a kind of linear process. So traditional, I suppose, it's associated that skills need to be learned before you play them in the game. So we practice high repetitions of drills before we can go into a game, and then we test them in the game. While in a games-based approach, it's a more flexible outlook. So that the belief is that skills can be learned through playing games. So that your likes of your first touch, the likes of your hooks and blocks, your kick passing, that they can be developed through well-designed games. So the likes of your overload situations there, they're very good for the developing the skills, because yes, you're putting minimal pressure on the player on the ball. So for example, your 4 versus 2s, your 5 versus 1s, you name it. But what you're allowing to take place is you're allowing some level of decision making to take place with it. Then I suppose in traditional there's a focus on, as I say, there are opportunities for high repetitions of skill practice, and the games-based believes in that having high opportunities for decision making. Our traditional is, it's really the teacher and the student, and while on the games-based approach, the coach acts as a more facilitator role and allows and puts the onus back in the players. So that's basically how what an example of how a traditional session might be and what a games-based session might be. So Professor Moyna earlier had a similar slide here on the games-based approach here, and it really follows, I suppose, that you introduce a game early to establish context. So the whole session then is built around an area that you want to work on within that game. So it could be something.
So just following up on what Paul would have done there is, and Colin, both of them are talking about games, both of them are talking about skill development in games, which is really, really important. So we're going to try and progress that on ourselves into different templates in a few minutes. But what I might get you to do is just in the chat box again, to type in how long are your coaching sessions with your players, roughly how many players you have per session, and how many coaches have you there? Is it you on your own with another parent that doesn't coach, that's just there to help you out, or is there 3 or 4 different coaches depending on? So we'd like to get a feel for where you are at as coaches, how long you spend in your coaching sessions, how many players you have, and how many coaches you have at each session. So if you could just type that in the text box, that'd be brilliant. Thanks. Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that, everyone. Just keep filling away. If you haven't filled in, just keep filling away if you can. So we're just going to nip on now to a checklist for yourself. So when you're looking at your sessions and you look, we'll revert back to the numbers and the time you spend on sessions in a couple of minutes. I use this myself. It's something that we've learned over the years, to have a little checklist yourself on what session you're doing. So the checklist I would look at is technical, tactical, and physical. That I'm covering these three areas all the time with my players. So they call it the 1+1+1. And these three areas are key for your players to develop, but they're all, I suppose, a foundation of the kind of psychological side of things as well. If they're enjoying, if they're able to do the technical stuff, they're going to be having fun and enjoy it. If they're playing games and they're enjoying it and they feel confident, they're going to be very, very confident. And if they're physical and they're getting a physical outcome of, they felt like they've done some work. So it's very important that you tick these three boxes, and there's loads of different areas we need to look at when we're looking at the technical, the tactical, and physical. So we're going to snip on just the technical first, as part of it. So am I simply running drills, or am I spotting technical faults and correcting them as soon as possible, which is really important. And using this column user, you're on the head, hands, feet technique. So we just have a little video there on the punt kick, on the head, hands, feet of the punt kick, what you can improve.
Lifting the head too early is a common error when learning the punt kick. This can lead to miskicking the ball and sending the ball in the wrong direction. To correct this error, encourage the player to continue to keep the head down, focusing on the point of impact until the follow-through is complete. The ball from the opposite hand to the kicking foot is another common error when performing the punt kick. This can lead to the player kicking the ball with the inside of the foot and misdirecting the pass or shot. To correct this error, ensure the player drops the ball from the hand at the kicking side and extends the opposite arm away from the body to aid balance. Not keeping the toes pointed and not following through in the direction of the target is a common error when performing the punt kick. To correct this error, keep the toes pointed throughout the kick, following through in the direction of the target.
So just looking at the head, hands, feet, is there areas in the session that you can fix the skill and look at that? And do you know the head, hands, feet of each skill? The next part is both the tactical. Have I given them enough opportunities to make decisions and improve the speed of that decision making? That's really, really important. So games are going to be a huge activity for that. So we're just going to show you an example of one of the condition games we would have used the last is, so the 4-goal game. So this game here, we have 4 goals. Players get a chance to score in any goal they want. When they score 1 goal, they must change direction. Decisions they have to make. What goal do I score into? If it's blocked, can I change direction? Do I move? So there's loads of decision makings there. You've just added in 2 extra goals. You're working on a head-up football. You're working on decision making of where do I move? When do I move? All really, really good. And that can be used for catching, kicking, hand passing, any skill you want. But you just added in 2 extra goals. Doesn't matter what skill you're working on there, but you're working on the tactical side of the game, of head-up vision, and say any skill you want to work on. So there's multiple ways of introducing that game to many of your facets. But looking at the tactical side of things, it's really, really good for head-up and looking at width and spatial awareness. As you can see here, it's a 3v3 game. Finally, then in the session checklist, we're going to look at the physical side of things, and the physical side of things, I suppose, there's a lot of the fundamental movement skills are the basis of this, and the fundamental movement skills are something that we have to try and really just sip into the session, not spend a whole session on the physical, but try and put them in nearly kind of disguised into the session and add them into different areas. So I'm just going to show you a video of actually the Arsenal Academy from their 9 to 12, what they do, and see can we put them into our session templates later on. But basically it's very, very simple stuff, but it's where we put them into the session and how long we spend them, which is very, very important.
Under 9s to under 12s, here's what we do.
So that was just a clip of the kind of the physical fitness side of things, what we're trying to incorporate into our sessions. And when we look at the technical and the tactical and the physical fitness side of things, not even taking into consideration the psychosocial and the confidence side of things we're trying to breed into players, we have a load of things to do. What skill are we looking at? What type of activity are we going to use? Is it a grid game? Is it a 4v2? How many players do we have? What area of the pitch do we have? How long do we have them first? That's what we're asking them questions to get yourselves thinking of, how can I fit these into my session? And that's what we're going to look at now in a couple of minutes, is how do we fix all these things into these session templates and see what suits you best. So we'll just nip a little challenge for everyone after this. We'll just nip on, is that this is what I do. I'll ask every coach to do. I think it's really important is, if you had only 40 minutes a week, some of you have put in the box that you have an hour and a half with your players, some an hour, some of you say you've an hour and 10 minutes. But if you only had 40 minutes with your players once a week, what would you focus on? What are the key areas that you would focus on? So if you could put that into the box as well, and then we'll try and fit all these areas into our session templates and see, can you fit what you want to focus on with your players into these session templates. So again, just putting in, if you had only 40 minutes a week, what would you really want to focus on with your players? What are the key areas? And thinking about the session checklist again, the technical, the tactical, and the physical side of things, and also the fun, enjoyment, and the confidence side of things you're trying to breed into players that Paddy would have talked about on the last webinar with us, about challenging the players, making them confident and stimulating them, that they enjoy their session, that you want to be the coach that they remember, that they do something fun and that they're improving all the time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through some of the session templates. So Kieran's going to start off on the session templates. And what I want you to do in this is to think to yourselves, well, this template would work for me, or this wouldn't work for me. This isn't what I'd be able to fill in my session. So again, we have 4 different session templates that you can look at and say, can I fit these into my session? Can I use these templates to get a better session and get the most out of my session?
Brilliant. Thanks, Paddy. So this is the 3 teams model. So just by looking at the chat there, the likes of Gavin, Aidan, Paul, who might have big numbers but have small number of coaches, this might be perfect for you. All you need is 2 coaches. So when all the kids come, pick 3 teams, a red, blue, and a yellow bibs there, or whatever you have. So place teams in either side of the game area, so one in each half of the pitch, and another team in the skills area. So you might play a warm-up game here, like your tail tag or whatever, in each of the zones. So one half of the pitch, another half of the pitch, and your zone. So they can all be doing the same game, just working on each other there. Then into the game, the 2 teams play a game against each other. So a condition game, depending on what you're working on, while the 3rd team are in the skills area working on that particular skill as well. So we might use the crouch lift that Colin was using earlier on. So they might be doing the exercises in there in the skills area, while in the game, it's a full-on contact game, but you might be awarding an extra point for a crouch lift. So the beauty of this model is to focus on individual players and that all players are challenged at their own levels. So you might go from 7 to 12 minutes of a game, and then you rotate it. So the yellow team might go into the skills area and the blue team might come back into to play the red team in the games area. So everyone's getting a chance in the skills area. Everyone's playing lots of matches. There's lots of touches, all involved in everything like that. So really for maybe your under 10s, under 11s, under 12s. Thanks, Paddy.
Brilliant, Kieran. Okay, the next model we're going to look at here is the grid-based model. And what I've done here is basically, this can work from any numbers between 12 to 40 players. So I would have used this in schools up to 34, 35 players in the school on a basketball court here. And this is where it kind of came from. So what you do first is set up your pitch. This is really, really important. Set up your 2 pitches with your straight line across the middle, which will be your mark your zones. Put different colors in each zone. So when the players come, they go into their zone. So one player comes in, they go to the blue, another player goes to the pink, one goes to the yellow, one goes to the red. From that, then you might have 5 players in each zone, and they're their teams now for their games. And what you'll do then is you'll do your fundamental movement skills in your warm-up activity in that area. So rather than playing a big game of stuck in the mud, you might just play that warm-up game in their area. And then everyone gets a chance to be on really quick, and everyone gets caught really quick. So it's really sharp and snappy. and they're in their small areas, and it's easier to handle big numbers. Again, you can work up to 40 players in this. You can have 10 players in each grid if needs be. Then after that, what you'll do then is you'll just play some sort of game with them. So it might be over the river. If you're working on the catch, say for under 8, you could be throwing the ball from one side to the other and back. If it's under 12, it could be the high catch. Could be kicking the ball from one side to the other, from the reds to the blues, or from the pinks to the whites. And then you pick your skills. So we're going to work on the high catch. Then in their little gridded area, they do some team passing activities, meaning that you throw a ball in and they just practice that skill. So if the high catch, they're throwing the ball, the red team, I'm going to pick them as an example. They have the ball, there's 5 of them in their grid, say, 2 balls, and they're just throwing the ball up in the air and practicing the technique of the high catch. You as a coach can stand in the middle and watch all areas. If you have more than one coach, you can put them in their different zones. So you can put Kieran in the blue, Damien in the pink, Paddy in the red, and Owen in the yellow. But what they'll do is that you're practicing the skill then. If it's the hand pass, they can be hand passing the ball around to each other. Then the next progression then is to make it more game realistic. You'll add a defender from your group. So just throw a bib in the middle. One person acts as a defender. You have your 4v1, your 5v1, or your 6v2, whatever you want to do there in your kind of uneven game. And they'll play in that grid area again. They'll play their 4v1 and they'll use the skill you want to do, the high catch, the hand pass, the kick, whatever you want to do. Progressing that on then again. Then what you'll ask them to do is they'll start trying to pass the balls or move the footballs around the grid. So from red to yellow, yellow to pink, pink to blue. And the blockers then, or the extra defenders, are trying to stop them going around. So you're extending the game then. You're extending the game that they're moving the ball around the grid even more. From then, that's using your step model. After that then, you've your pitches set up for your games. All you do is put down 2 poles at the end of each end and you play your matches. And you can play uneven teams there if you want. It can be 7v3, 6v4, whatever numbers you have again. And your pitches are already set up. And then you have a mini blitz. Reds can play blues for the first 5 minutes. Pinks can play yellows. Swap pinks and blues, and they swap across and swap. And then yellows play say blues, reds play pinks. So you have a mini blitz going on. And you can throw different conditions in then again. So you can put conditions on them games then to suit the skill you're working on. This template works really well with big numbers. Small numbers up to 12 works really well. Again, they're all in their ear. They're all organised. The second they come in, they get their games. And you get a chance to coach them in their small little areas as well, which is very important. But also, you could have the pinks versus the whites playing a game. And you might want to coach the blues and the reds. And you might just stop their game, show them the bit of the skill, coach them, and get them to get back into the game. So it's a really, really good way of setting up a session. It works really, really well. But the idea is set up your pitches straight away, put colours on your pitches straight away, and then use them grids all the time. And you can add different conditions and different tasks to the games as they go along, but using your grids all the time, your pitches set up, and it works really, really well. So that's a really good template we use in the primary schools, but also use it in clubs as well. Not in big space and small space, and it gets all the kids involved, gets lots of touches, loads of decision making, and again, you can use it for any skill you want. Blocking, kicking, hand passing. Again, it's brilliant. And then the best thing about this is in your break from, say, your team passing drill, where they might be passing the ball around through the high catch, when they're going on to the next activity, you can do some of the fundamental moving skills. They can do balance on one leg. They can do jumping and hopping. They can do crawling. They can do all these things. Same with Kieran's idea there of the 3-team model. When they're rotating from pitch to pitch, that's your 2 minutes to throw in the stuff that we show with the Des Ryan video. Guys can crawl from station to station. They can jump from station to station. You can blow the whistle. All the players can balance on one leg. They can do all these fundamental movement skills. And you can do your races in these areas as well. So that's how you hide in them physical fitness aspects of the session you want to go in, rather than just doing it in block periods. Have it in between when they're switching from game to game. It gets their mind off the game. They have a bit of fun with it. They're doing their physical side of things, and then they're back into another game type activity. So that's where you can kind of really hide those physical activities in these session templates. So Kieran's going to nip on to the next one there now.
Thanks, Paddy. So not dissimilar to your grid model, the circuit-based model would have 4 stations, maybe 5 stations, depending on your numbers. So large number of players this can cater for, but you'd need at least 4 coaches. So the likes of Damien, Kathleen and Carol there, who put in the chat earlier on, they had big numbers, but they had big number of coaches as well. So divide them into 4 different groups. You can, like Paddy said, you can do your warm-up in each of the sections. So you're stuck in the mud or your tail tag, whatever game suits. and then each station on the circuit offers something different. So you might have fundamental movements in one, so your racing car games, your knee tag, or even the stuff the Arsenal Academy lads are doing there, they're all fundamental movements, crawling, jumping, etc. Your condition game, then you can have a 3v3 or something like that, where they have to knock over the cone instead of scoring a goal, or the 4-goal game that Paddy had earlier on, you can have that going in there. So on 3 then, fun game, you can throw in a ball. It can be a target practice game where they're shooting to knock over pins or 5-litre water bottles or gallons of milk or something like that. And then zone 4 is your skill drill, so something that you're focusing the whole session on. So if the punt kick is what you're focusing on, then you have a target game and you have a focus on the skill there as well. So after about maybe 7 or 8 minutes, you rotate them. So I always just go clockwise after 8 minutes. So when they're doing a skill for about 8 minutes, after more than 8 minutes, it can be a bit daunting. So all the games will last longer than that if you let them. But just to keep it moving, 8 minutes is what I use. And then, like Paddy said, your zones are there to set up for a game of over the river or a blitz format there. So you've already set up to play each other, and they're all in their bibs. Thanks, Paddy.
Brilliant. Okay, then the last template we're going to look at is the game and fix a template. Set up your pitch. It might be you and a coach on your own, maybe. Have a fun warm-up and use the whole pitch as your fun warm-up. So maybe do your tail tag or your knee tag, different things, some sort of fun game to warm them up. Then just get into your match. Have your two teams pick. Get into a game. Let them play the game. Let the players make a couple of mistakes. Play for 4 or 5 minutes. Bring the players in, and you know what skill you want to work on. So you know, look, the last day on the blitz, the pickup was poor, or the high catch. So we'll use the high catch again. The high catch was poor. Then you question the kids and ask them, well, what skill was what was working well there, and they'll tell you. And then you might see a couple of missed high catch. Well, what was the high catch like? Well, we missed some there. So basically, you say, well, we're going to work on the high catch. So then all you do is throw another couple of footballs, and then you show them one little exercise going through the head, hands, feet of the high catch. The players practice it amongst each other. You use that to fix the skill. Then you go straight back into the game. Question them, look at the head, hands, feet of the skill, go back into the game, play your game again, maybe give them 3 extra points for a high catch. After that, then another 7 or 8 minutes later, blow it up again. Ask them, how did that work? You might do maybe a high catch that's a pose. Maybe it's a 2v1. So you're throwing the ball, or a 1v1, you're throwing the ball between 2 people and they're trying to contest for the ball. So you're trying to work on the high catch there. Go back into the game again. Maybe put a condition on then on the game if you're working on the high catch, that you might have players on the outside throwing the ball in. Anytime a ball goes wide, a ball is kicked high into the air to go for a high catch. Again, you're playing the game, you're fixing it. You play a game, you fix it. Do it 3 times in the session, 3 little mini breaks. During the mini breaks, then you can do some your jumping, your landing, your push-pull activities, your physical fitness activities. Get back into the game and play away. And the beauty of this is that they're playing matches all the time. You focus on the skill. You've asked the players. You've questioned the players on it. You've done a small little skill drill. There's no fancy drill there with 20 different cones on the pitch. It's just a pitch and footballs. Fix your skill. Get back into a match. And I'd say it's the easiest way to coach players, and kids love it and players love it, and they're getting lots out of it. And you can condition your game what stage they're meant to be at. So again, what Colin talked about, what stage are the players at? It might be a 7v7. It could be a 10v4 maybe, if you're working on certain skills. So again, you pick what suits the players at that stage. That's the beauty of all these templates we've went through. So again, there's 4 different templates. We've ticked on the technical, the tactical, the physical, how you fit them all into your session then. They've all covered that. And again, it's something that you really want to concentrate on. But if you do it one way this week, you might do for 3 weeks in the game and fix it method. The next week you might use the 3-team method, depends. Or again, you might just use the one template all the time. You might use the grid method, which I find really good for players. And you've that set up, every week. The coaches know what you're doing, the players know what you're doing. You're just changing the conditions of the games and the activities and the drills all the time to make the session and develop more development towards the players.
Paddy, just a question there coming in. What's the best way to set up a session to challenge all the players when the group has large numbers and a wide range of ability?
So I suppose large numbers, there's no harm in putting the stronger players against each other, because they're going to challenge each other. So there's no harm in picking the stronger players if needs be. Let them play each other and have maybe the weaker ones on one side. But what you can do then is to challenge the stronger players, not just to see the weaker players seeing it and saying, oh, well, all the good lads are over on the blue and the green pitch and all the weaker lads are on the yellow and blue. Well, overload the teams. Make the weaker teams have more players. Maybe it might be 10v6, 10v7. That's really going to challenge the stronger players. It's going to give the weaker players a leg up. And what it's going to do is then you're challenging everyone all the time. The weaker players against the stronger players, but also the stronger players are a man or two down. They really have to work really hard. They don't have as many options on the ball when they get it. So it really challenges the stronger players. Anything on that, Kieran?
Yeah, no, just like you said, that you're not isolating just the one child, and William has a question there. Is pretty much a similar one as well. If a player wasn't picking up a skill, what would be the best way to teach it without stopping the session? So, like Paddy was suggesting, that you might have your game going on, you might pick a couple of the guys that aren't quite up the track, bring them over, do something with them, let the other coach or parent referee it, and then you're moving on from there. Anything on that, Paddy?
Yeah, look, I suppose the child, you can just go over and have a quick word with them. And the big thing is, it only takes 10 to 15 seconds to show a child a skill. Get a ball. But what I'd say to you is that sometimes kids, if you go to the weaker player all the time to show them how to fix a skill, they maybe feel kind of down. Oh, they're always picking on me. I don't know how to do it. Go to your stronger player. Make them work on the weak side. Start fixing your stronger players. And then it becomes nearly a star on their back that, geez, the coach is coming to work with me, and no players will mind being helped. So that's really important, that you can you can work on the stronger players, then go to the weaker players. Then everyone is getting a bit of a fix all the time, and it's not a stigma that, oh, I'm the player that can't do the pickup or can't do the high catch. So that's a little trick in the background, maybe. Challenge your stronger player, and then the weaker player will see that, and nobody will look at them. Well, look, the best player in the team is getting fixed. Well, then every player in the team can get fixed, and you can help them out. It's not going to the weaker player straight away, and that might get the stigma away from being the weaker player and not making the mistakes and not improving as much as everyone else. So, hope that answers your question, there, William.
I'll just jump in there, Paddy. Just on the first question, I love the example of when your whole group of kids come, that they all go off to their stations, but everybody does the same activity for the first circuit. So kids can all be interspersed. Ability is not considered. Just as they come, they go off to a station and they all do the first activity. So then the second set on the station is you filter them out. So you start streaming kids by their ability, and now you go into the proper circuit. So strong kids and weak kids get to play together all the time, and they get to play with other groups, particularly if you have a group of 40. And they're coming from maybe 3 different schools. That might be the only time during the week where those kids get to see each other. So it's very, very important that as a team, and to build a team, that all the players get to play with each other every week. But also it's very, very important that a child gets to develop at their own level. And that's the challenge for you as a coach, that you can, the way the lads had explained, and starting with the activity at the beginning and then streaming thereafter, that all works well as well.
Yeah, 100%, David. That's really good. That gives you a chance as the coach to sit back and watch. So if you get them into a game, you can see, well, like, you can start picking your teams then and rotating them around, and that worked really, really well. Good spot. All right, Kieran.
Brilliant, thanks, lads. So just on planning our session, so I think most important thing is to actually write it out beforehand. So even if it's just scribbled on a piece of paper and you send it around to your 3 or 4 coaches that morning of it, or even after the last session that you do, you take 5 minutes at the end. Okay, we're going to work on this the next. Then it's done. You don't have to worry about it for another week or another few days, whatever it is. So I just went through one for the high catch using the 3 teams model I was talking about earlier on. So organisation, you're setting up your pitch for a game and the smaller zone off the side. So 1 playing pitch and 1 skill zone, like I was saying. So pick 3 balanced teams and have each wearing different colour bibs. Don't have to be balanced if you want to go Paddy's way, and you might have a team of 10 players against a team of 6 players with different levels, depending what you're working on. So the warm-up, like I said, you'd have a team in each section, so 1 half of the pitch or the skill zone, and play the game, even use the Arsenal Academy techniques there to warming them up, and the wheelbarrows and jumping around and crawling, etc. The physical element, so again, your changeover to focus is checked. So your changeover, so after your 7 to 10 minutes game. One team is leaving the skill zone, the other is moving on. Why not challenge the kids that they must crawl over, or they must hop over on one leg, depending on their age group. They might crawl backwards like crabs. It's a bit of fun in it, but it also works on your physical element. If I get the next slide, Damien, please. So the main focus, I've mentioned already, is so keeping those teams in their zones. The players in the skill zone will now work on the high catch. So there's a coach with them in the skill zone. They're playing a game or drills or etc. No more than what Colin said earlier on, depending on what you're working on, depending on what the abilities is, you might change it to a drill or a game, depending on this. So the high catch. So they might even be in partners, testing each other, catching over each other under pressure, etc. While the other two teams are playing the small sided game using the conditions of the session. So if the high catch is for our session, so it might be worth an extra point in the game or 2 points under pressure. So if they catch it over somebody else in the middle of the game, you might award 2 points for that. So after the set time, one team replaces the other team in the zone. So I'm always using clockwise as an example. It's just handy for everyone to remember that they know who's next anyway. While the team leaving the skill zone are now competing against the other game in the game scenario. So there's always a coach in the skill zone working on a particular skill, while the coach in the game can be working at the same thing. So both coaches, even though they're doing different things, they're still working on the same thing. Thanks, Damien. Paddy, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, I'll chip away here, Kieran. So I suppose the most important thing to look at when you're looking at all these templates is what option do you choose? So what area do you have? Do you have half a field, quarter field, or a full field, depending on what way your club works? Some clubs all underage train on one pitch, same time, same place every week, and space is at a premium, but excitement and I suppose action around the club is brilliant. So it depends on what space you have. What type of equipment have I? Have I a ball between two? Ideally, brilliant if you do, or a ball per person, even better, and that'd be really, really good. But if you don't, what do I have? And how many coaches do I have? Do I just have myself as a coach that's confident of doing the head, hands, feet, spotting and fixing and changing conditions of games? And do I just have a parent with me that's just going to help me and maybe ref a game or do the water bottles, wherever it is? So that's going to make you choose what template you use. The next part of it then is what template do you use? You have to plan your session. We've talked about doing the session, but next is review. And this is the most powerful part of tonight, I feel. And when you look at your sessions, and we're all really, really busy and we've lots going on and it's tight. But what I'd say to you is reviewing your session for the next day. Even if you pull the session 5 minutes early, that you know you have to head off to work, wherever it is, pull it early, bring your couple of coaches in together and review it and see what went well, what you're going to use the next day, what you think didn't work well, and then plan your next session. And Kieran's going to go through the third principle template where you can review your session. So there's a great little template here of questions you can ask yourself to review your session, and that'll shape the next session you have or the next game you're going to, which is really powerful for you to making your players better, making your sessions better, and more importantly, getting the most out of your sessions.
Thanks, Paddy. So this again is using the Tourist coaching principles developed by Longford GAA. So just quickly running through them. Testing and challenging. All players should be challenged to improve at their level. Understanding the players at the centre of the game and provides individualised development. So it's player centred, that it resembles the game, that we're actually playing the game that we're meant to be. That all players are involved all the time with lots of touches, lots of decision making, and should always be enjoyable, developmentally appropriate, and holistic GAA experience. This template will be available in the resource pack that Damien mentioned later on, but just going through it in Biro that I would have done earlier on. If you go to the next stage there for me, Damien, please. So after each session, if you have one of these handy, or you get the hang of it by the first few of it anyway. So in the individual boxes, so the testing and challenging there on the left, for example, the questions are there for you. Are players recognised for effort more than outcome? Encouraged to try things? Are the players engaged in the task, or are they distracted? Do you set targets for players during activities? So the questions are there for you, and it's only a matter of having a pen or pencil afterwards, sitting down for 5 minutes with the coaches that are there and what they taught. And if there was something that you didn't touch on, it's something to work on for the next day. So just an example there. Are players recognised for effort more than outcome? So the example of this one, all players were praised for technique and attempting the hook kick, so they're working on the hook kick there. Are the players engaged in the task? They were distracted after about 10 minutes, which is definitely normal for children. But when you change conditions, they focused again. So by just using the step principle, we would have mentioned in other webinars, we're changing something small to keep them focused again. Do you set targets for players? Sorry, Damien. Do you set targets for players during activities? So targets were set by the coach in the skill zone. Understand the players that enter the game. So do you use different conditions for different players within activities? So like Paddy was saying, you might have your stronger guy working on their left foot, or where you might have one guy working on getting his head up the minute he has the ball, and another guy might be just trying to perfect the technique or getting it right. How did you decide your pairings and groupings? Base pairings and abilities in a match before changing it to technique matchups. So like Paddy said, you might have had balanced teams at the start, but you might want to change it to develop as something. Did you try and engage one-to-one with as many players as possible? Yes, both in the game and the skill zone. So using the 3-team model again, you have coach working in the skill zone, engaging with all the players, and then throughout the match you're picking on them individually to see what challenging they're going to do. Thanks, Damien. So are all players involved all the time? Lots of touches. So what percentage of your session included games? So actual match-based games, 66%, the other 33% was in the skill zone. But if you want to look at it another way, that they were actually playing a game in the skill zone to work on the hook kick. They were having a shooting competition or target competition. So you could say 100% of the time, depending on what you're working on. Did your group team sizes allow players maximum touches? A lot of touches and a lot of decision making in the game, and a ball for every player in the skill zone. So during the game, they're getting a lot of touches, a lot of decision making as the game is small sided. But in the skill zone, they've all a ball each, so there are definitely a lot of touches. Did you use questions to facilitate thinking players? I asked them why are we kicking this way and not using a punt kick. So just by putting it back on them, getting to think about why they're doing it, why are we using the hook kick and not the punt kick? Does it resemble the game? So what part of game did your activity seek to develop? So kicking technique, so the hook kick in this instance, and using it on the move. So trying to progress on from our usual punt kick. So this is probably an under 11, under 12 team. So they're looking to progress their kicking technique. So were the players motivated to complete the activity? Yes, once they knew it was a game. Once it gave their team an extra score. So the motivation was to perfect the technique, or you're the player that's working on their bad side, or one player just getting their head up, depending on their individual. They're all motivated for their own task, but working as a team as well. Did you communicate to the players why they were doing it? Both in the game and the skill zone, this is always reinforced. So you're always telling them why you're doing it, and asking them, questioning them, why do you think we're doing this? Should always be enjoyable, developmentally appropriate, and holistic GAA experience. Were all the players showing signs of enjoying? Yeah, you've definitely playing games all the time. You're going to hear cheering and high fives, especially that age when they score goals. It's brilliant. Were the activities age appropriate? Yes, they're relevant for the age group. So I used the hook kick here. It was for under 11, under 12. So it's developed their punt kick into the hook kick. And did you demonstrate examples of the +1 model? So like Paddy alerted to earlier on, so your technical, tactical, physical, all evident in the games. Now Paddy's going to take you through just questioning the players.
Yeah, so just to nip on to the next one, Damon. Questions are so important, and trying to get something out of the players, which is really, really important. So, like, rather than telling them, kick the ball here, do this, do that, ask them questions. Let them decide for themselves. They mightn't get it the first time, but if you keep asking them questions, they'll come up with that answer. And it's a far more powerful learning opportunity for the players if they answer it themselves. Some people say you're actually probably taking away the learning from the players, telling them exactly what to do. So if we're doing the say the punt kick again, what hand do you hold the ball with? So if the player is holding the ball with the wrong hand, that's a question you can ask. What hand do you hold the ball when kicking with your right foot? He might actually practice the skill, and then, oh, it's actually my right hand, and I was holding my left hand. So same hand, same foot. He's figuring out himself, what is he doing? what can I do to go buy a marker? So you're working on evasion skills. If players are maybe getting caught in the solo, getting dispossessed, could be a question you ask them. How do you get by your player? Well, you need to shimmy side to side. Okay, well, how do you do that? And he can show you, and he makes that decision themselves. When they're shooting, maybe, where did your chest finish? So the ball went wide. Telling players, stop kicking the ball wide. You put the ball over the bar. Well, there's a technical problem there. So maybe it's their chest isn't in line with the goal when they're finishing. So ask them, where did their chest finish? Ask them these questions. What can you do to help your partner on the ball? So again, that's in more of a game-based scenario, tactical. What can I do to help the full forward win the ball or support them? And they'll say maybe come off the shoulder, delay my run, whatever it is. So again, it's questions again to let them come up with the answer and make them achieve the learning themselves. And the last one I suppose, is where would you like the ball to be passed? That's a brilliant one. And not to the person that's receiving the ball, actually a kicker or a passer. If they're kicking the ball up in the air along the ground, put the onus back on them. Michael, where would you like the ball to be passed? Well, I'd like the ball to be passed, just bounce in front of me. Where did you kick the last ball? Oh, well, I kicked it up in the air. Where do you think you should kick the next ball? Or kicking in front of Damien, driving onto the ball. So again, asking players a question could be something that helps their learning, and something that if you know you're working on a certain skill, you can just have jotted down some of them questions on the side of your session plan. Very, very simple, and just ask them questions as the session's going along and let the players do the learning themselves rather than just telling them. Let the players do the learning. That's really, really important. Okay, so just finishing up, everyone, and we'll go back to a couple of questions in a minute, but I'd like everyone just to write in, because we're all going to learn from each other on this. This is really, really important. And people who have taken different things, I talked to a couple of coaches during the week and getting a bit of feedback on them, and they all gave me different bits of feedback. So I think it'd be important that we could share the feedback amongst each other. So what I'd like you to do is just list one thing that you'll take back to your club from tonight. Write in the chat bar. You might pick one activity or one section of it. Another club might pick another, but that might twig it for the other person to bring it back to their club. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes there just to write in the text box one thing you'd like to bring back to your club.
Thanks, Paddy. Just while Paddy's doing that, I'll plug in my power cord again, starting to get low on the battery. I'll just take you to the Longford website and show you again where the resources are. Again, anybody that has been with us as we've been going along will know where all of this is. So the whole May schedule has been pulled up to the top of the website with the April schedule down below it, and all the April resources are there. So Paddy has mentioned earlier on this evening about the resource from the previous child webinar. So again, you'll get all of that there. So once we open up at the top of the screen under coaching and then webinars, and then just over here we have the links to the full resource. So tomorrow morning I'll put up the recording from tonight, and just click in here. Paddy and Kieran have another resource or two to add into this. So on that Taurus form that you can print off yourself and complete. So everything's in here. I mentioned in the chat earlier about the videos where our little stop start. That just happens because of the amount of people that's online and internet connections and all the rest, and it going from one computer and then streaming to another. So all the videos are within here. You can run them off and watch them in your own time as well. Everything is there. So just as the chats are coming in, the boys will be picking them up. So there again is our schedule for the month of May, the Monday nights. So next Monday night is the youth adult coach, the session planning version. Then we have a really, really good one. Really looking forward to this one on the 18th. It's coaching cheats. So we have we'll be putting out a flyer on it in the week leading into it. But if you haven't signed up for it, I would really encourage you to attend for this one, because that'll be a really good one there. And then the problems clinic. So in advance of this Monday the 25th, anyone who has said that they want to attend this, we'll drop you an email looking for what your problems are. And then we will have a team of coaches covering all age grades from child all the way up to adult. And we will be able to tackle all of those problems and hopefully offer you some good advice. And finally there, before I hand back to the lads, is our interview series, which is starting on Wednesday night. So we're starting with Porrick Davis, and then every Wednesday night thereafter. So we'll have Gary Sice, Brendan Maher, and then we have a goalkeeping roundtable discussion at the end of the month. So again, If you know of somebody that might be interested in some of these, please pass on the word. You've obviously seen you've logged in and you've signed up to whatever you want to attend yourself. So hopefully you can join us on some of those as well. So just going to hand you back again. I'd like to thank Paddy and Kieran for all the work they've put in. I'll just leave it to the two boys tonight, but behind the scenes there's a load of other people trying to pull all these resources together as well. So just for the two boys tonight, thanks very much. And I'll hand them back to take on whatever questions we have there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Damien. It's great to see a lot of variety there and people there taking away. The questioning one is coming up a lot there. The grid-based model, especially with big numbers and you don't know how many's coming exactly. Brilliant. Is there any questions there? Dermot has a good point there. The 3-team grid setup will suit big numbers and also the questioning. Excellent stuff, guys. I can't see any questions there, Paddy.
No, I suppose the good thing there for everyone, and thanks very much for the comments, everyone, is that you're all coming back with something different there, which is brilliant, that you're all taking it back to the club. And I can't stress the importance of the two things that has changed my coach and different things that would be reviewing it and asking questions. The session planning is really important, but reviewing and asking questions are a huge part of your session planning. And we tell kids an awful lot of things, but if they do the learning for themselves from the questions we ask them, it's far more powerful for them. And again, if we learn from the session, we can only learn as coaches if we look back. And just Damien was talking the other day, but even if you hit record on your phone, if you have to, during the session, a voice record, and listen back to, if you have the time to listen back to a session and listen to the voice record of what you said to the players. I'll give you just a quick story. I was only starting to coach a long time ago now, back in college, training the ladies football team, and we had a senior coach with us and he was helping us out, but it was our first match, and I had the program of the players in my hand wrapped up like a squeezed together, and I was pointing at players and I was saying okay. I kept saying okay. I never knew he did this till he told me, but that is a review I seen, and it's something I took away from my sessions. The other thing would be if you ever video yourself doing a session, either guys on the level 2 or sometimes do people doing level 1, seeing yourself coaching, get someone to give you a bit of feedback, get maybe the minor coach or the senior club coach, someone to come down and watch you coach and give you a bit of feedback on your coaching. It'll improve your coaching no ends, and what that'll improve your players, which is the reason you're there. And it's a great learning curve for you. So again, if you can review your own session using that Thurs template, brilliant. If you can get someone to watch your coach and do it. Finally, just like to put in as well is that myself, Kieran and Owen are there. If you're doing planning sessions, don't be afraid to send us a WhatsApp and we'll do a bit of review with you on the session. So from tonight, if you can go back to your resource that's on the website, pick a couple of games, put a couple of sessions together, handball them, write them down, send it to myself or Kieran or Damien or Owen. We have no problem going through the session and giving you a bit of feedback on it as well, if needs be. That's what we're here for. And that's something that we do trash things about in the office with each other, but it's really important to get feedback. So if any of you want to do your sessions up yourselves, send them on to me or any of the lads. We have no problem in giving you a bit of feedback on the session. And again, we're all learning and trying to make things better all the time.
I'll just jump in there, lads, to one question popping up there, and actually a comment from William again. William, you're great for the comments, is super. About Owen and the Rubik's Cube. So anyone who doesn't know what that's about, we had a little chat ourselves with our team meeting on Friday, and Owen's party piece is that he can complete a Rubik's Cube. So it took him 1 minute and 3 seconds from it been scrambled to completing it. So very, very impressive. And yeah, he did do it. And the video is in real time, even though it looks really quick. That's real time. That's the way he can flick through it. So just a question about any games. So obviously we all heard Leo on Friday evening and Friday night on the late, and there's a really, really comprehensive plan there for return to various different activities and different phases. So I suppose one that we're going to be looking at, and Leinster is doing a good bit of work on this at the minute, and hopefully we'll be able to roll it out. It's not flagged there at the minute, but it'll probably be a non-standard webinar because it's so important. But it's about how to conduct sessions once the restrictions at the minute start getting lifted, and how you can do small numbers and keeping the social distancing and working all that. As regards to the games, Dermot, we just don't know. We're getting the same information as everybody else is about what's going on in the world, and ultimately we're all very, very interested in what we do, and we would love to be going to matches and involve out training kids and all the rest. But all of this is bigger fry than that, and we just have to continue to adhere to government policy and do our best and work within the policies and everything that's there, and hopefully we'll all get back playing football and hurling very, very soon. I know it's not the answer you were looking for, but there are green shoots there, and there are steps coming down the line that will lead us to getting back playing. So hopefully we can all get back on the field very, very soon.
Kieran, anything else to finish up with?
No, I think that's covered everything, and it was great to see everyone take away something. And like Damien said, hopefully we'll be all on the pitch soon.
Brilliant. So we'll finish up there. Everyone, thanks very much. Again, just a bit of a task for yourselves. Plan your sessions if you can. Do it now when it's fresh in your head, when we have a little bit of time, and pick the couple of skills and areas you want to work with your team when we do go back, and just start practicing now. When we do go back, we'll be in better position to coach our kids and make sessions better. So thanks very much, everyone. Take care. Stay safe. Cheers, Kieran.
Thanks.